Hello everyone, welcome to AV Atmos. Now we are going to go over the box office for the first weekend of January of 2020. Now we've had an interesting run from 2019. Disney has broken all-time records for movies upon movies upon movies that have crossed the $1 billion mark. And we've had so many records that have been shattered in one single year from one studio, and that's Disney. I don't think that will ever be repeated again, except people say it may happen down the line in a few years, maybe another studio. I pretty much doubt another studio can do exactly what Disney did in a single year, let alone even come close to that. But right now, they are still making a lot of money at the box office. So I'm going to cover everything that has happened at the box office this weekend and the estimates and how it's looking like for other movies. Now, I'll start off with the United States, then I will proceed to international grosses for each movie. Now, the Rise of Skywalker dropped is still massive, but they dropped a massive 53% in its third weekend, making a total of $33.7 million in its third weekend. Now currently it's already at $450 million in the United States. Jumanji Next Level made $26.5 million, which is getting it currently to $236 million in the United States. Little Women did $13.5 million for a total of $60 million in the United States. The Grudge was a I wouldn't really say flop for Grudge, considering the budget, because it's made for $10 million. I'll get into the worldwide total later, but it made $11.3 million in the United States, while Frozen dropped another 38%. Sorry, I think around 35%, but I'm not entirely sure. I have to go down to check, confirm Frozen's particular drop, but it dropped in the 30s region. It made another $11.2 million for a total of $449 million in the United States. Spies in Disguise made $10 million. Knives Out made $9 million. Uncut Gems made $7.8 million. And what this is just showing us is that other movies are hanging in there, but there is a bit of a trend that is going on here. Rise of Skywalker is dropping much more harder than other movies in at least in the trilogy. It's not a great thing, but there is one thing I must say. Even though I'm not a fan of the movie, or I'm not a big fan of whatever it's doing, I'm not gonna say it's a flop like other haters or most people that really disliked this particular film make content on YouTube going around saying it's a flop. But listen, any movie that makes $1 billion, in my own point of view, is successful, regardless of the budget, regardless of the marketing. This movie, as far as I am concerned, has made money. It really has made money. It may not make a ton of money compared to Force Awakens that made almost $800 million in profit. It may not make I think Last Jedi made around $300+ million in profit, if I'm not mistaken. Um, it's not going to be like these other films, because those other films were in the position to make that kind of money when they came out. So I'm not going to judge it by that. If it's getting to $1 billion, it means that the fans are still there, but it's dwindling because of the story and the direction it's going. Now, as for worldwide total from deadline.com, they are saying that internationally the movie made that's Rise of Skywalker made $50.5 million internationally this weekend, for a total of $468 million. And its global haul this weekend from America to the international market is $84.2 million, which is still great, because if you check what it did last weekend, it's still a decent hold. Now they go on to explain that Disney had a record-breaking year in 2019, making over $11.12 billion, which is a record that I don't even see any studio coming close to this anytime soon. And they're saying that with Fox titles as well, they made over $13.15 billion. They go on to say that Frozen 2 has become the highest grossing animated film of all time now, which is being debated because we all know that Lion King looks a little like Lion King was said to be an animated feature, which Disney denied that, saying it's a live adaptation, whatever. I don't really care. Um, Frozen's international markets have accumulated a total of $875.3 million. Now, they're estimating that the film would probably get to $950 million minimum before it clears the theater. But I feel that is an understatement because this movie is making over $100 million week by week. Now, I understand that we are off the festive period, the holidays are over, so you'll probably start seeing bigger drops this coming weekend. But for them to say that it will likely finish above $950 million internationally means that this film could come close to $1 billion internationally. And what that means is that if this film gets to $1 billion overseas, it could potentially get to $1.5 billion, which is crazy good. Now, I already, from what I'm seeing right now, it's going to make 1.4 billion. But if it holds out well and gets close to 500 million, or gets to $500 million domestic, then gets to $1 billion overseas with strongholds, because we don't really know what Japan would end up making. I predicted Japan was going to make $150 million. People doubted it, saying, you don't know what you're saying. I even argued with some people on Twitter, but right now it is looking like it's going to get to it's definitely going to come close to $1.5 billion. Going to come at least close to $150 million in Japan, because right now it's already made over $100 million in Japan. It's made $103 million in Japan, and that is 7 weeks in play in Japan. So it still has a lot of weeks to play, a lot of months to play, because if you remember the last time Frozen stayed, I think 6 months in Japan before it made around $250 million in Japan in 3 years ago. Now, let's look at other movies. Let's look at other movies at the international market. Let's break it down. Now, they're saying The Gentleman, Guy Ritchie's movie, and they say $7.6 million. That's uh, that's that's a decent start for the movie. It's opening little by little. It's still going to open in the Middle East, Mexico, January, France, February, Russia in February, Germany in February as well. The Grudge made $5.8 million internationally. Currently, I think it's already at $17.5 million worldwide. As far as I'm concerned, this film is not a flop, even though it's a bad movie or a terribly rated movie, but it's certainly not a disaster or a flop as far as I'm concerned, considering the budget. Other movies are Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker. The Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker made, as we've already said, 500 made $918.8 million, and that's estimate. So it could come in higher by tomorrow, a Monday. It's not opening any other place again. It's already a flop in China, from what Deadline is saying. While Jumanji made $42 million for a total of $374 million internationally, and if you combine that with American gross, it's already at 610. Now, I predicted this film will hit 800 million, and my prediction still stands. This movie will still get to 800 million, and you know why it will do that? This movie would hit $300 million domestic. A lot of people are saying it will come close to $300 million domestic, but fall short of it. I feel it will get to $300 million domestic because it has a very strong leg. I think it will get to 300 million. If it is for overseas, it's definitely getting to $500 million overseas before it's all done. It's still going to open in Brazil, and it's honestly it's doing very well every other place. So guys, this is basically the box office rundown for this week. Make sure you follow us on social media, to subscribe to our channel, and like our videos. Dislike them if you do not like them, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.